So did everybody get the message that Doug was not going to be here, so you decided to show up and just kind of make him mad as he watches the playback and says, oh my God, this place is full and I'm not here. So as you know, I'm not Doug Thies. Doug is actually under the weather. So he's still with Expedient. He's our main man here, so he'll be here for a long time to come if I have anything to say about it. I'm Dwayne Weber. I'm the area VP. I lead the sales team here. So welcome to IT Leaders. Happy to have everybody today. Doug will be back next time. So this is our 84th IT Leaders, and Doug has missed 2. One he was on vacation and his wife wouldn't let him out of it. And this one he just decided probably best to not be here. So IT Leaders, who are we? Who's been here before? A lot of you. Great. Who's first time? A couple people?
First time in the room.
First time in the room. Welcome. I'm going to turn the temperature down a little bit because I'm hot. Maybe you guys aren't. But so IT Leaders, we are for all types of leaders. If you're brand new, kind of new to your leadership role, directors. If you're a CIO, so we really run the gamut. You can see up there, a good place to network. I hope everybody was able to meet somebody, spend some time, getting to know somebody a little bit better. We do have a mentoring program. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And hopefully an opportunity to learn a little, to hone your leadership skills a little bit through our wonderful speakers today, as well as LinkedIn, some things we do there. I don't have a clicker, so I'm using this, so if I go out of order, our bathrooms are out of order. So what we learned was, we've been here like many years, and the bathrooms, the plumbing goes uphill. And this funny thing about gravity, when you flush, it can't really go uphill. So after all these years, we started realizing that it was going the wrong way. So we have to actually dig up the flooring and have all of that redone. So it's not a cheap endeavor. We've got estimates. Hopefully by the next time you come back, we won't have to escort you up front to use the restroom. But if you do need to use the restroom, or if you do need to leave a little bit early, Bob and Brett will be hanging out back there. So just get up and walk that way, and we'll escort you to the front. If they're not there and you need, my number is right there. It's 317-605-0932. Maybe just text me and say, hey, I need the bolt. And we'll meet there and make sure you get to the front. Here's how you can stay in touch with IT Leaders. Most of you went to this website already and registered. We do have a LinkedIn page, IT Leaders Indianapolis, and Twitter. You take pictures today if you want to comment on this. Hashtag IT Leaders Indy. Even though Doug's not here, I'd love to see any pictures that you take. His number is up there because you won't remember that. We do have a LinkedIn private group. A little bit of information there about it. Feel free to join that LinkedIn group and collaborate with all of your peers. Like I said, we do have a mentor program. If you would like to mentor, reach out to Doug. You all have amazing skills and experiences that you can share with other people. And if you or maybe a new hire is interested in being mentored, we're happy to set up a mentorship for them, and you can talk to Doug about what that means to either be mentored or be a mentor. Always want to share positions. We're connected to a whole lot of people. We've got several hundred companies that use our data center, our cloud services. So at any given time, we know a whole bunch of people that are looking for positions or looking to fill positions. So if anybody's looking, join that LinkedIn group and kind of share what you're looking for. And if you or you know somebody that's looking, feel free to share it with Doug or myself or any of our sales team. And we'll see what we can do to make some connections for you. Every year we put on, not Expedient, but this room is filled with new IT leaders in IT Leadership Bootcamp. What I love about this is it is really the softer side of leadership. It's not how to lead a bunch of tech guys and ladies. It's how to use your skills and how to develop rapport and relationships and how to do better with them. It's also a way for new leaders to kind of work together. It's a half-day workshop, and it's pretty collaborative. So think about sending your new leaders to that program. We have a couple of events coming up that we've been made aware of. There's the Indianapolis Casual Happy Hour, sponsored by Lucidia. You can find that on the itleaders.org website. Expedient and People Driven Technologies is also hosting March Madness event, March 16th. So the opening day at Pinheads from 11 till 6 o'clock. We've got the room with the 4 bowling lanes. So if you prefer to bowl, I'm from Wisconsin, so I kind of know how to bowl. It's ugly, but so if you want to bowl and not watch basketball or watch a little basketball and bowl, we have that room at Pinhead. So please think about joining us. We'll have more information on that coming up. Is this?
Next meeting.
There we go. Next meeting to be determined. Thank you very much. See, he sent me this at like 4 o'clock. I apologize. Any other events coming up? Anybody want to share any other events happening around Indianapolis for IT folks? Okay. And of course, you're here at Expedient. We appreciate you coming today. Expedient hosts this, takes care of all this. You all know what we do. Co-location. People bring their stuff here, their hardware. We've got the second largest VMware cloud in the country. So people that don't want to manage their infrastructure anymore put their stuff here. 2 new things that we're doing, which you probably are all aware of already, but our VDI presence, it's a Horizon VDI, is exploding. People are realizing that they'd rather have somebody else manage their VDI instead of doing that internally. And then just announced last week, we also are now offering an edge managed product, meaning if you already use a managed service provider like Expedient for your cloud, but you seem to have the server and a little bit of storage on-prem for domain controllers or fast access, we actually now have a plug-and-play solution that we can embed a server, storage, networking solution right in your facility. So manufacturing, hospitality, retail, manufacturing, healthcare, where you have many locations, you just want to keep that edge there and you still want somebody else to manage it. We're doing that now too. So. All right, without further ado, we have 2 great speakers today. Sarah Robinson and Patty Kolajczyk. I hope I did that right. Did I do it okay? All right, I practiced. So leading off today is Sarah Robinson, and Sarah is a leader in employee engagement. It was awesome to talk to her a little bit before because I have a real passion for the softer side. I call it the softer side of leadership in organizations. I think we all know how important that is today. So Sarah is going to spend a little bit of time talking to us today about her work in that area and how you can benefit from it. So can we welcome Sarah Robinson up?
So we're going to be talking about 5 skills your leaders need today. So here we are, 5 skills your leaders need today, and that means you too, okay? And who's a leader? Basically, just about, yeah, you all, yes, thank you. Okay, raise your hand if you're a leader. All of you, yes, you're all leaders, okay? And really, the bar's pretty low, you guys, right? Anybody that's looking to you for any kind of guidance makes you a leader, all right? And it's more important today than it's ever been. And so we all know what table talk is. How many people play cards, right? And table talk is frowned upon. That's like a no-no. But in this environment, table talk is like a real positive. And so anybody have, okay, give me your name. Give me your name. What is it? No, I can't. I want to see it too. Oh. Doesn't have the name tag on. These kinds of people will get picked on. Okay, so if you are looking to get picked on, take your name tag off. Okay, so Ben is otherwise doing very well because he does have pen and paper out, which makes him the table recorder. Gentlemen, yes, yes. The other Ben also has pen and paper out. Or if you have an iPad, that would work as well. I do want a table recorder because we're going to do a little table talk. Gentlemen at the back, I do want to pick on you. I would, there are seats up here. There are empty seats. If you are leaving early, you may stay back there. I know you're going to act like you're leaving early. Come join. Come join. It's all about inclusiveness. Come up here with us. We would love to see you. No? Okay. So, somebody at the table decide they're going to be a recorder. And if you have paper, great. If not, not. What I want you guys to do is share very quickly, because this is the quickest amount of time I've ever done this presentation in, but as a good facilitator, you got to get people talking, okay? This is really not about me, it's about you. What are some adjectives that describe your best leader or your worst leader? You all know who this person is, okay? You don't need to name names, right? But I do want you, here's some, I just gave you a little help, okay? Humble, caring, honest, kind, thoughtful, brave, smart. Now we get to the negative ones. Arrogant, insensitive, dishonest, oblivious, weak, incompetent. Add to this list. Go. Motivational. One extra adjective from this table.
Micromanager.
I'm sorry?
Micromanager.
Micromanager. So that's negative. Right? Okay. One extra. Empathetic. I love that. How sensitive. Thank you. Any guys in the back?
Forward thinker.
I'm sorry?
Forward thinker.
Forward thinking.
Listener.
Listener.
Transparent.
Transparent. Excellent.
We only came up with 4 ones.
What?
We only came up with the negative.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay,
That's
cool.
fine.
Self-serving.
Self-serving. Well, we've all cringed at that person. Confident. What have we got too? I didn't get you.
Visionary.
Visionary. All right, let's pack her up. You guys got this. No, just kidding. You don't. You're right. All of those are great, good and negative things to talk about. Leaders. Guess what? For 17 years, I taught an organizational behavior class at IEPY. It was called V366, Managing Behavior in Public Organizations. It was really a ball. I mean, did I do it for too long? Yes. Was I growing my business at the same time? Yes. But it got me to be in rooms like this, right? It got me really comfortable being up here just talking, which sometimes can be, boring. And what I learned is, first day of class, every single time, we have a moment like this. Talk about your best manager, talk about your worst manager. Everybody has that person, okay? What do you want to be? You want to be a good guy. You want to be a good guy or gal, right? You want to be that person that's like, they're amazing. And now more than ever. So, this is the why about me. Why am I up here? Why do I care about this? What do I care about? I've been an organizational freak since 1991. So I got my master's in industrial organizational psychology, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to study the connection between people being happy at work and being productive at work. At the time, we called that employee satisfaction. Okay, there were not a ton of companies doing that in Indy in 1991. I will tell you that much. But Shepherd Portman Communications Company, a printing company, hired me while I was still in grad school to start helping them track employee satisfaction and help make it better. So I was pretty lucky, right? Then I decided, hey, what I really want to do is not work in-house. I want to do my own gig, so I start my own business. And along the way, and late in the game, I discover Strength Finder 2.0. And how did I discover this book? Does anybody know this book, Strength Finder 2.0? So, you guys, it was in that best-selling area of the Barnes & Noble for so long. This is not a new book. It's 2005. It was a bestseller for more than 7 years, and I was so annoyed by it. Annoyed. Because I knew, as somebody with, a research background, that there were no good personality assessments out there, and the only thing that organizations did with them was, and I wouldn't say only thing, but primarily what I saw as a consultant and what I had seen firsthand is, oh, we want to know your personality because we want to pigeonhole you. Okay, so we take it real quick, take it so that I can, then it's like, oh, okay, that's who you are. And there, go sit in the corner now. Okay, because I got it in my head. All right, thanks so much. I saw organizations misuse personality assessments. So I was very skeptical. I mean, more than that, okay? But I finally break down. And I give money and actually pay for the book and actually take the assessment in the back. But why? Because I'm gonna debunk it, this bestseller, and I'm gonna clarify to all my students and to the people that I'm working with, my clients, my customers, this is dangerous. This is a dangerous tool. So I take it, and of course it nailed me, incredibly so, like to a T, things I didn't even want to admit about myself. My number one strength, if you're familiar, you get 5 strengths from the assessment. Competition. I was horrified. I'm a nice woman, people like me. What are they saying? And then I read the definition, which of course, guys, I get it. You're saying, oh, is she an idiot? Of course we all want to be competitive. Women kind of don't. There's a little thing going on there with women kind of hating other women that are competitive. And so I was like, no, but I'm so loved, right? And of course I read the definition, I was like, oh, it means I'm always judging. I know exactly where I stand, and I'm measuring. That's me, right? I had said, I don't care. I'm an HR person. I just care about people being happy. No, I really want me to be happy, okay? And I had not accepted that part of my personality, and so I was kind of disenfranchised from myself, right? My first book, up here, Unstuck at Last, is really about that. Discover your strengths and get unstuck. What do you kind of know about yourself but you don't want to admit? And if you're not really using it, then how can it be a strength, right? That's what I experienced myself. So I authored that book. I end up getting training through Gallup, the company that owns StrengthsFinder 2.0. Very late to the StrengthsFinder 2.0 game, late to the Clifton Strengths Assessment bandwagon, but early to getting certified. So I was one of the first 7 people in the world, actually, to get certified by Gallup. So there's 7 of us that just, Gallup did not know what they were doing, and it was, to say it was a risk is putting it mildly, but it all worked out, okay? Then, in 2019, I write Fresh Leadership. And why? Because I realize my students do keep saying, I really wish my manager could take this class. And I get that there's a fraction of those people that just were trying to sweet talk me into a better grade. I'm not that stupid. But I also thought, there's something to this, right? What is it? What is it that I would teach if I didn't have this silly textbook, right? What is it that all of these people need to know? And that is where FRESH came from, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. FRESH is an acronym. We're going to go through the FRESH acronym and talk about why is it relevant in 2023. Here's the acronym. F, feedback. We'll talk about what that is, but more is more, okay? R is rewards. What's the old way we used to think about rewards? Money. There's a new way to think about it. We'll talk about that. E is engagement. The old employee satisfaction is now engagement. If you're not measuring it, you're dead in the water. How many people here, their organization measures employee engagement? Hurrah for you. Good job. S, service. Leaders are about serving other people, not about you. H, human connection. Gotta be real, people. Gotta be real. Today, more than ever. So, that's what we're going to be talking about. So, does everybody, I don't want to age myself, but I think we can say that there are some old rules of the past, and they were unwritten rules. And sometimes we learn these either from our first boss or from our parents, right? So one of them is come in before the boss and leave after the boss. How many people have heard that rule, right? If you're still living by it, good luck to you, okay? That's a tough one to live by right now, right? We don't know. We don't know, okay? So here are some other ones. Work's not meant to be fun. That's why they call it work, okay? Remember that one? Masculinity and leadership are synonymous. You need to be, like a guy. Like that's what's really important, to be like a guy. So lucky most of you, okay? Leaders are strong and invincible. Yes, I can do it, right? And so you just think about the, right? There's no vulnerability to me. Weaknesses and emotions really need to be hidden at all costs. In 1991, when I joined the workforce, there were, movies about women going to the bathroom to cry, right? And not that I really want people crying at work, but talking about emotions and being obvious about we're all dealing with something, right, is very 2023. Diversity is aspired to, but it doesn't really happen. It would be great, right? And it's just kind of a fluffy thing, right? No. And then the come in before the boss and leave after the boss dictates your working hours if you want to get ahead, okay? So how many people agree that these are kind of the unwritten past working rules? Do you think they still hold up? No. So what do we really want? These are the unwritten needs of work present, okay? These aren't written down anywhere. Well, I don't know. If you're checking Twitter, they might be. But they're really important. So, and they did the flip of many of these. Work should be meaningful and fun. Anybody heard that recently? Yeah. Listening skills. What table had the good listening? Nice work. And other traditionally feminine traits are central to being an effective leader, right? Empathy, right? Do we still, in 2023, do we still associate women with being more empathic than men? Most of us do, right? And I hate to extend, sexist ideas, but yes. Leaders need to be authentic, okay? So what does authentic leadership mean? Who are you? Who are you really? Leaders need to understand the emotional components of work, right? We're not just drones, right? We actually have lots of feelings about the work that we're doing. Diversity is a necessity. Why? What comes from diversity? Do we want everybody at work to have the exact same background? Do we want everybody at work to have the exact same education? Do we want everybody at work to be of the same age group? No. Why? Because you're not making good decisions. Diversity of thought is what makes good decisions. How do we know this? Well, we know from lots of ways, but from research, Google is the company that can spend money on anything and has, brilliant people. And they still find some of their groups are more high performing than others. And how did they distinguish what was the kind of special sauce of those groups? The special sauce was lots of differences, but they're all listened to. They all get to weigh in. Okay? That's pretty critical. And that's why diversity of thought, but also feeling like you can add, you have a seat at the table and a voice at the table is so critical. Okay? And then outcomes, not face time, is what matters. It's a hard one, right? It's like, how much is this person working? Well, we got to see. What are they getting done? So, unwritten needs of work present. People mostly agree with these, yeah? Okay. So, oh, I'm sorry, we can't forget that one. Leaders need to model a work-life balance, right? Kind of the old way to think about leadership was work is their life. They just love it so much, it's all they do. It's all they talk about, it's all they think about, right? No, really, honestly, that makes you unrelatable, right? So you gotta have a life. You gotta have other things you're passionate about other than work, or people are like, wow, that person is just a one-laner. They got nothing else on their mind. They got nothing else thinking about, and I can't relate to them because I got multiple things. I got multiple irons in my fire, multiple things that I'm excited about, that I'm passionate about, right? And that makes me human. Okay, so we're gonna start the acronym. Number 1, feedback. Guess what? Leaders who gave honest feedback were rated 5 times more effective than those who did not. Right? And sometimes we're like, ooh, no, I can't be honest, right? Because that's going to be kind of negative, maybe. People actually can have a sense for that, can smell it, can sniff it out. They want your honesty. But how do they want it? They want it only if they trust you. What happens when you get negative feedback from somebody that you don't trust? I don't care, and I know that you just don't like me. And so why would I listen to your criticism of me? Because, Jason, I just feel like you and I have never really gotten along, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like, because you remember that other time when you were really critical with me and everybody else really liked it, and then you did that thing that I thought was a little bit underhanded and went to somebody else and said something about me. And so now, when you talk, I just go, okay, yeah, right? I don't pay attention. I don't listen. I don't take it in. Because now I've shut him out. He doesn't care about my best interests. He's not constructively criticizing me. He's trying to tear me down. The only time we want to accept constructive criticism is when somebody is in your corner, right? When I say, I know Jason would never ever say anything that would kind of be upsetting to me, and this is a little bit upsetting because I thought the presentation went okay and he didn't really like it, but I have to say that he had some good points. And Jason, because we are friends, because Jason cares about me, he cares about my career, he cares about me getting better, would not share this with me in such a serious, kind of straightforward manner unless he wanted me to get better. So thank you. You're right. I'm sorry that there were a couple things that I did that weren't quite what they need to be. So I appreciate you letting me know. I'm going to really work on that, right? Because I trust him. Employees who receive positive feedback are 30 times more likely to be engaged, right? Than no feedback. No feedback's the worst, right? You're in a vacuum. You're scared. Do they like me? Do they not like me? No news is good news. Remember that old saying? Bang. No. Why? Because I can post a picture of a kitten on Instagram and the world will go crazy, right? Oh, Sarah, you're darling with that kitten. That kitten is adorable. Heart, 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 right? We can get immediate gratification someplace, right? So if I've just handed in a big work project to you and you don't want to give me any feedback, wow, that's kind of weird, right? Why? You hate it. Oh, I just forgot. It's fine, it's good, it's okay. No, I need more than that. So, don't delay giving feedback. Lack of information breeds uncertainty, okay? And anxiety. I don't know how he felt about it. I don't know. They didn't really say. I sent it yesterday. I kind of thought I'd know something by today, but they haven't said anything, so I'm nervous. right? Does that make me loyal? Does that make me happy? Does that make me think I don't want to look for another job? Right? No. So increase your communication. Maybe keep up, but guess what? Really, what my recommendation here is more is almost always more. Okay? Unless you're worried about being a micromanager, more is more. Rewards. So, we know you gotta pay people. You're aware of that, right? Right. So, we're talking about that, but we're also talking about lots of other things. And we also know that one size does not fit all. Okay? That different rewards mean different things to different people. And you need to be aware of what really fills the cup of the people that are working on your team. And they're great little surveys out there. And if you contact me, I'll give you one that you can send out to everybody, right? And just say, down to, what's your favorite coffee from Starbucks? Okay? I mean, you need to know that about your team so that you can come in and be like, yeah, I'm proud of this group. Everyone gets a latte, right? Or I don't care what it is, a scone, or, but honestly, you guys, praising people with food, it's about as easy as it gets, right? But it shows you care. There's something about being nourished by our leaders that fills us up. Oh, wow, did you really stop and get that? That's so sweet. And then you personalize it. Oh my gosh, you're right, that is my favorite drink. That's so sweet, right? It fills us up. So, giving the appropriate reward to the right person shows a leader's appreciation and true understanding, right? It's their awareness and familiarity with his or her team. So if you think, oh yeah, I just got everybody movie tickets, right? Or, like the new days when we can watch movies again. It doesn't work. But for your huge movie buff, right, that loves to go to Brewflix, and they want to take their whole family to Avatar, that does fill them up. Tapping into intrinsic rewards, the things that are internal. Extrinsic is pay and benefits, right? The things that are written down when you sign a contract. Intrinsic is the things that get me up in the morning, right? That fill my cup and make me excited and feel appreciated. In my world, it's also connected to your strengths. So if you know somebody's strengths, you know how to fill them up internally, right? Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, I'm definitely would say amen. My question would be, do you have tools or suggestions for tools? Because I think most of us here deal with distributed teams, some of them global. As far as, that I want to do this, but I find it very challenging.
Yeah, no. Wonderful question. So it still is about connection and communication, okay? And so one of the things I'm going to peddle after the presentation is fresh leadership, okay? And so having all of your people and or your leaders, right, read this. At the end of every chapter, there are leader self-examination questions and group discussion questions. So you start taking this back to people so that you can do it in a bigger scope, right? But it's all about, people need to know people, right? And that takes time, that takes energy. You need to ask people how they're feeling. You need to carve out time and do some of these exercises, right? And once again, start coming together like we are, right? This is one of the highest attendance rates, right? People are ready. People are ready to rub shoulders again, and we actually miss human beings. Great question. So, 2023 update. Intrinsic rewards. Feeling satisfied, capable, appreciated, having autonomy, investing in employees' development, and promoting social interaction. Okay? So and you can tell that this group is already trying to do all of that, right? That's why, you're gonna go to, bowling and March Madness and have social interaction. That is what builds connection and loyalty to your team. Because you know people on a different level, and They really care about more than just your work product. Engagement. So we already saw, many of you are tracking this. For those of you that aren't and think, oh, but Sarah, that's really just for Fortune 500 companies. I will say to you, it is not. And it's not that expensive, right? Gallup has a tool that tracks engagement. It's only 12 items. It's called the Q12. It's important. You need to know, and you need to be working on it. So, measuring employee engagement is just as important as checking cash flow or customer satisfaction. Gotta know. You can't just, well, we kind of have a sense around here. No, 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 and no. You need a number. Okay? You need to know, is this your better or worse? Right? Only 33% of the workforce is engaged. No lie. And it's decreasing, ladies and gentlemen, decreasing. Okay? So this is the first year Gallup has ever found that the state of employee engagement is on the decline. And what does that mean? I mean, that's a scary number in and of itself. But then to think, okay, we've got 2/3 of the workforce that is either not engaged or actively disengaged. What is that actively disengaged person doing? Hurting your organization. Okay, they're causing trouble, they're stirring the pot, they're chatting with other people and saying, this place, it's awful. You know what I mean, right? You know what I mean. Horrible. So that is real, and so another metaphor or just a way to think about it is, you got 3 people walking into work, and the actively engaged person comes in, let's say they're having a little McDonald's on the way in, maybe a little something healthier, Panera, and they, throw their trash in the bin and walk on into work. They're engaged. The not engaged person walks into work and sees a little trash as they're eating their Panera. Oh, well, the guy, the sanitary person, they'll get that. That's too bad, that's gross. Yuck. The actively disengaged person, they take their Panera or McDonald's bag and they toss it. Oh, shoot, it didn't make it. Okay, bye. Right? They don't do anything extra or even pick up their trash, right? They cause harm. They say, oh, I don't care. All right? You don't want that person employed. You want to, in fact, you want to get them out. You want to make them happy and find them a better place to be. So what can you do to dramatically increase employee engagement? You can follow up, you can talk to people, right? You can give feedback, you can measure engagement and try to make changes. But the number one thing is hire good managers. Hire people that care. Hire people that aren't just proficient at their job, but that can connect with human beings, that care about people, that want to lead. That's a key one too, right? So, don't bury your head in the sand, everybody, okay? No news is not good news. You gotta measure, okay? And please reach out if you want a little thought about how to do that. Service. So how many people are familiar with the term servant leadership? Everyone, right? Don't stop listening to me because I use that term, okay? You still keep your ears open. Yes, servant leadership is not the practice of just catering to the whims of your team, okay? I don't know why that perception is out there, but it is. And so I did not very intentionally name this servant leadership. I named it service. Because guess what? The old way to think about things was a manager or leader would say, and what have you done for me lately? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's flipped. If you're a good leader, you're serving somebody else. Somebody's saying, oh, yeah. I mean, and then, they're really thinking about my development and so, yeah, no, my manager has all this really exciting ideas for my career, and it's like, it's almost intimidating, but it's also exciting. I don't know. It just has my mind going, right? You need to be thinking about them, right? 5 minutes? Oh, come on. So, servant leadership is consistent with stewardship, and you got to delight, develop, and respect your team. What is the update? Grow their natural talents. Okay, that's a little plug for the work I do. Offer them training. Show your commitment to their development. That's how you serve as a leader. Okay? Last one, H, human connection. I don't want frailty, but vulnerability is actually okay. How do you show vulnerability? You apologize. How many people have apologized lately? Do it more. Model a desirable work-life balance. This is a tough one, but very important. Discuss failures. Epic fail, here, epic fail, let me tell everybody about it, right? You're not invincible, but you're still a leader. And how did you work your way back from that epic fail? Ask for help. How many people hate asking for help at work? Indeed, most of us, right? Oh no, I got it. Really, I'm serious. I got it. Okay, but no, I do need a little help, right? Show emotions. No Vulcans allowed, right? We all remember that from Star Trek. Dr. Spock had no emotions. Don't do that, right? You really, I don't need a lot of tears at work, but I do need people at least explaining their emotions. I am really tired today and frustrated because X. I am not feeling good about this project and I'm kind of disappointed. Explain your emotions. You don't need to display them, but you can explain them. So, being human and understanding is really real today. Why? Because we just got done with 2 very stressful years. And it has flipped the way people want to relate to you. Now that they can see your kitchen or people walking through your living room, they want to know more about the real you. So you got to add that into the mix. You need to be human. So, what's one thing you learned today? If there was more time, okay, thanks. So, I want your tables to go back and say either one thing you learned, right, or something you're actually a favorite. Like what's one nugget? One nugget. That's all I'm asking for. One thing. You have 30 seconds. So, ideas. What came out of this table? Anything fun?
More appreciation, rewards throughout the year, maybe not just sort of waiting until a certain time, but throughout.
Yes, and expand your brain about what real rewards are, right? It's not just the bonus, although if you take that away, everyone will leave. It's other things too. Anything from this team?
Regarding service, we said that everybody is a customer, employees, customers, so treating everybody, with respect to dignity.
Love that. Anything from here?
Well, there was talk about rewards, that different people have different rewards that they like.
Yeah, things that they want. Great. What about here?
One thing we learned today was the positive feedback equals 30x.
Yeah, so positive feedback, you're 30 times more likely to be engaged. Something from here.
The explaining emotions or displaying emotions. A lot of team members display them when they explain them.
Yeah, like that. Good. Okay. Did everyone hear that? Explaining versus, okay, yeah.
Remember to be more frequent with praises and recognition.
Yeah.
And know your team and what their needs are.
Great, love it. And remember, you can contact me and get a fun little mini survey. Anything here?
Yeah.
Did we already do it? No.
For us, because we specifically talked about distributed teams, the extra effort that needs to go into that human connection, not only between a leader and a team, but just between the team members. And what that looks like when you've got people in different countries and different continents with different cultures.
Right, different cultures, different time zones, right? But it still means you gotta come together somehow, and you need to make it's sometimes an extraordinary effort, right? Anything back here, you guys?
So we talked about the engagement, but really, what is actively disengaged in moving those people forward? Or if you have to, we eliminate them, right?
Yeah, yeah. Did we get anything from here?
It was the reminder of the importance of feedback, but especially with the fact that a lot of us are remote, and making sure that we try to do that connection and the feedback, how critical it is now more than ever.
Yeah, the remote work makes the whole feedback piece afresh a big challenge. And guess what? 8 out of 10 people are working either remotely or at some hybrid level, right? And that's not just IT, right? That's everybody. So you guys are probably even higher than that. All right, that's all I really have. I wanted you to set an achievable goal, but I really appreciate you all listening, talking, and I hope you got something out of it. I'll stick around if you want to talk about the Fresh Leadership book. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So our next speaker, anybody know David Goggins? Anybody ever heard of that guy? Can't hurt me. He's a Navy SEAL. He's got what he calls a 40% rule and says at any given time we're only using 40% of what we're capable of. So if you're training for a marathon or out doing things, you're really only, when you think you're to your limits, you're only 40% of the way there. And our next speaker's topic reminded me of that. So today we have Patty Kolajacek with the CTO at CNO Financial, and she's going to talk to us about achieving more than your team thought they could. So, Patty, thank you very much.
Nice to meet you. I see some familiar faces, but not that many, I have to say. So let me introduce myself. Patty Kolajacek, very nicely done. My maiden name was Lang, so that was nice. Tried to get him to take my last name, but clearly that didn't work. I am relatively new to the Indianapolis area. I moved here about 3.5 years ago. Nothing like moving and 6 months later a pandemic hits. So coming out of that now, relocated from Connecticut in the Hartford area. For those of you who are not familiar with CNO Financial, we are a mid-size insurance carrier right here in Carmel, serving middle America. And I came from Connecticut, and prior to coming here, I was with Travelers and the Hartford, so I've been around the block with insurance, right? This may be the racing capital of the world, but Hartford, Connecticut's known as the insurance capital of the world. It's really exciting, huh? So that's a little bit about me. I moved here, as I said, with my husband and 2 high school-age kids. But one of the things I really want to also tell you about myself is I didn't start my career. In fact, when I was younger, I never even expected to be in management or leadership. I went to school for engineering. I was hands-on developer, architect, tech lead. That's what I was planning to do with my career. And I'd say about 10 years into it, I got to a place where it wasn't really hard. Building technology solutions just started becoming easy. It wasn't the hard part. I think everyone in this room, if you've been a leader, knows the hard part is people, processes, leadership, governance, and I decided I wanted to shift and do the hard stuff. Not that, don't tell my teams that I say that's the harder stuff, but. So I switched about 15 years ago, roughly now, into a leadership role, and I've been really excited going there and helping teams achieve more than they thought they could. Let's see if this works. Yes. Okay, when Doug reached out to me and asked if I would present, I said, what would this group want to hear about? So I feel really fortunate that I'm helping to kick off 2023. This is the first session in 2023. And what's relevant to leaders in the first part of the year? Goals and objectives, right? So I think a lot of you, much like myself, are probably thinking about what are we going to accomplish this year? And 2023 is pretty different. In October, I was at the Gartner Symposium convention. I don't know if any of you have been to that, but it was over 8,000 folks attended. CIOs and senior leaders, and I was really surprised. It was really a different hum, a different theme than I'd heard in the past. We still had the normal, you need artificial intelligence and forward-looking and strategy and roadmaps, but almost every presentation and every networking discussion talked about these 3 things. persistent high inflation. It's a reality for us in 2023. Scarce, expensive talent. We've seen a lot of attrition, I don't know about you, and even when we don't see the attrition, just hiring those open roles that we do have are costly, it takes a while, and global supply chain challenges. We're moving our data centers and we're doing other things with our fields and so forth, and we're really feeling the pain. So 23 feels to me quite a bit different than the past few years, and that means our goals have to be a little different. We've got to set some lofty expectations. We've got to move the ball. We as leaders need to get our teams excited about being in the roles they're in, because it's hard when we have to replace them. So that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about today. I'm a storyteller, so I'm going to tell you some of the principles I've kind of developed over my career, and then I'm going to tell you stories about each one, because that's how I start. So, how many of you have heard or used SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound? This isn't that. Lofty goals. I like lofty goals, right? I think that it gets people excited about accomplishing things. It drives an innovative way of thinking. It'll help folks maximize their potential. In a recent Leadership IQ survey, it said, I think they surveyed about 400 companies, and the folks said that only 15% of people felt like that their goals and objectives would help them do great things. And even less, 13% of people said they strongly agreed that the goals and objectives were going to maximize their personal potential. I don't know about you, I don't get jazzed to go to work and say, I'm going to be mediocre today, I'm wicked excited. And I don't want a team that's excited about coming to work to be mediocre either. So I think part of what our job as leaders is to help set that vision of lofty goals to get people excited about coming to work. We want our folks to stay with our companies, all the great people, we want them. And they want to be at a place where they feel good about being there. And so lofty goals are part of how we get there. So let me tell you a story. Let me set the stage for you. I'm in a large company. We are fairly far along in our agile transformation journey, but let me be honest, we still have a lot of waterfall in our environment. And we have a release process, and I'm in charge of release management at the time. And so when we develop our code and our application teams and our delivery teams are working on agile delivery, they'll spend 3 months on a PI. Very common, right? And at the end of their 3-month PI, they're ready to do all that fast, nimble work and put it into our production environment for our customers. And our process said, now let's go into systems testing for 6 weeks. Then let's do user acceptance testing for 6 weeks. And now it's 6 months later before we released it. Doesn't feel really good, does it? So we've spent 3 months developing software and the teams feel like they're done, and then our rest of our processes is another 3 months before we get the business value. So this wasn't gonna work, right? Nobody's happy about that. So what we said, what are we gonna do for goals and objectives? I'm talking to my leadership team, and how many people have said, my goal is to reduce it by 10% or 20%, right? Those are really good goals. That's what people say and that's what people do. And that's not thought of as an easy objective. But 10%? I can make a lick of difference. Ooh, I'm going to production in 5.5 months or 5 months, but I finished the software development in 3, right? So the team and I were talking about, well, what do we want? What is the objective? We said, how about 50%? Why not? Right? Let's set a lofty goal. And before this goal, the things that people were talking about were so small in nature, right? Maybe we can do things to automate more, or we can have a better test data management platform, right? And of course, that's not cheap, right? Let's introduce something there and all these experts set up this application, or let's build another more automation. But we changed the conversation dramatically when we said it's 50%. We had to think differently, right? Because that's a whole different league of accomplishment. And we were in a meeting and we're brainstorming, and of course everyone's like, how are we gonna do this? And someone goes, Patty, don't you realize that we would have to not even do one of those whole things? Because look, to cut that in half, we'd have to stop doing one of those. Oh my God, we're gonna stop doing one of those, right? That's what we decided. We said for our agile teams, they're already doing this testing in there. It's not the old waterfall way where we'll pass it forward to the next user group. And so that's what we did. So we end up having one test environment, and we optimized the things we were doing, right? And we didn't repeat the things that the Agile teams had already tested. We had one test environment, and we reduced our duration of our release process by 50%. And you know what else? It didn't cost anything. It didn't cost money to hire folks to do a bunch of additional automation that we to close gaps. It didn't mean we bought a new platform and implemented it. It meant that we did change management. We did process engineering, right? And so I can't even tell you how proud the team was at the end. And while we were doing some of the hard change management and we kept saying, you know what you're gonna do today? You're gonna reduce it by 50%, and folks would get excited, and that's how we got there. So not only do we do the hard stuff, folks felt really good about themselves. They didn't come to work to be mediocre. So that's one of my stories about how we transformed the release process with a lofty goal, and if we hadn't set that lofty goal, it would have been like a 10% reduction, right? So that's my first guiding principle. My next one is focus on outcomes. So now there's some CNO folks here, and I see them smirking already going, God, if she talks about outcomes one more time, I'm gonna kill myself. No, I do all the time. I'll be randomly in a meeting and say, and what's the outcome, and what are we after, right? We wanna make sure we don't lose sight of what we're achieving. Right? You hear the age-old adage, outcomes over output. I think when you think about it, a lot of times we'll have objectives and they'll have a really good intention, and we'll know what they're about, and then we break it down and we'll build roadmaps, okay? And the roadmaps are the activities needed to achieve that outcome or that vision, but we often then start focusing on the roadmaps. We start forgetting about the outcome. Let me give you a for example of what not to do, right? I'm going to sunset application X so I can drive down costs, fewer things to manage, right? And then you're marching towards sunsetting that application. But how many times have you said, I've sunset that application, only to find out it's on a shared server and you're not actually getting that saving? The laughs tell me you've been there too. Doesn't it stink, right? And you're so proud of yourself. I've got another one where we implemented a bunch of automation, and I said, okay, we're gonna implement this automation, we're removing human tasks, it's gonna drive down our costs with our sourcing partners. We got it all done, we went to go save that money, and what happens? Oh, my contract says I pay by the server, not by the activity or the work units. Didn't get the outcome, right? So you need to keep that check and balance and keep yourself honest around what's the outcome you're trying to achieve at all times, and not just focusing on those activities. And it should be part of your everyday conversations. So let me tell you another story. Okay. Similar situation where we've got a lot of activities going on. We've moved the ball as an organization. We've really got fewer platforms. That's what everybody wants, right? I'm gonna rationalize my application portfolio. I'm gonna have a few key applications. But what folks don't always remember is your level of concurrent development on those few strategic platforms goes up. So you have a lot of activities, a lot of teams, all coding against the same code base on the same application. And now when we have release points, we gotta bring it all together, okay? So at the time, I'm accountable for a DevOps team. We do all the code management, we do the deployments and with the releases. And again, 2 weeks just to merge code. I'm embarrassed saying that out loud, frankly, right? 2 weeks, so you think about it. If I have a production date, and I'm putting out 4 different teams' work in that release, that's 8 weeks. It's 2 months, super embarrassing. So we said we knew we had to move the ball, and the team, we said we're gonna look at our process. As you can see, we mapped it out. We gotta create the new code base branch. We'll use the automated code tool to do our merges, and it can merge a lot of those conflicts automated without, and then we've gotta do humans doing manual code conflict resolution for the remainder of them. So I said, we gotta fix this, right? We're the transformation team. We make things better. We're fast. We're gonna do this. And my team said, okay, so what we can do is we can upgrade the server that SVN's on, and we're gonna make this this automated thing run really fast. Okay. I'm thinking to myself, okay, so if it goes 30% faster, that's great, right? Okay, so take a third off that. I'm not moving the needle on my 2-week merge. What's it gonna take a day off, right? It's gonna take 4 days off of my month-long activity. They said, well, we could go to a different tool that does that faster too. But nobody was talking about this, right? This is the biggest part. It took the most time. It took developers away from writing code because they're doing code conflict. So we needed, I'm gonna domino my objectives here. We needed a lofty goal and one that was gonna drive the right outcomes. Those were great ideas, those roadmaps that folks were suggesting, but they weren't hitting the outcome we needed. So we made another lofty goal, why not, right? We're that team. And so we said, we're gonna reduce the manual code conflict resolution time by 90%. Because that's the bulk of it, that's how we're gonna move the needle. And so again, it drove creative thinking, doing things differently and so forth. Anyone ever hear of continuous integration, right? So it was hard because we weren't the team of developers. We were the team that was accountable for all the code management, moving the code, and having to influence and say, I know code merges right now are hard for you, and therefore you avoid them, which makes more conflicts, which makes it harder to resolve, which pulls you away from your development to do your code conflict resolution. We're gonna have you integrate all the time. And by integrating all the time, there were very few conflicts, even with, say, 4 teams working on the same code base at the same time, because they made the changes often, right? And so we did a pilot, because everyone thought that's never going to work. It's another one of Patty's crazy ideas, it's never gonna work. But we did, started with small teams, and we hit it, right? Because it could handle, when you were merging the code frequently, there weren't conflicts, and we reduced it by 90%. But the reason where I'm going with this story is the fact that everyone kept thinking about activities they could understand and things like, let's fix our tool. But that really wasn't gonna achieve the outcome we wanted, which was the level of speed. So that's another story I've got for you there. My third guiding principle, I call it, is making sure that the goals really are connecting to a purpose. So people really understand, your team understands why they're doing things, and it's influencing their day-to-day decision-making and their behaviors. It's so that when you show up at work, it's something you can wrap your head around, and that you're going ahead and doing these things and living every day. And so one of the things that I find a lot of times is, while an organization can create goals and objectives that feel like good ones, and when you're sitting, you're drawing out at the beginning of the year, if you think about when your team shows up for work every day, does it drive the different behaviors? Does it change the way they do things or think about things? And I think that's how you really make a big difference. So let me tell you another story. Okay. Did you know if you had an application that's supposed to be up 24/7 and it was down for half a business day, you still had 83% availability that day? If that happened 3 times in the same week, 3 days out of your 5 business days, you were down for half the day, you still have 93% availability. And if that application is part of a well-performing portfolio of about 500 applications, your average availability for your portfolio is 99.99%. Yay, we are awesome, aren't we? I don't know about where you work, but if my system was down half the business day for 3 consecutive business days, nobody's celebrating. This actually happened to me. It was pretty horrible. I had accountability for our non-production environments at the time and their availability. I'll call it Project Atlas, right? So we had a big project. It was the CEO's pet project. It's trying to go to production, and the environments keep going down for testing. And I'm having to explain why the development team's meeting their objectives and we're gonna miss our dates. And I got sideswiped. I'm walking the floor, we rock, 99.9% availability, our screens are green, our status updates are green. And literally our team is going to be the reason why this major multi-million-dollar program is not going to be able to go live. It was a really tough holiday season that year. I think I read over 1,000 tickets myself personally, just to make sure I was comfortable with all the information. But it said we had to figure out how to have different goals, not ones that say our portfolio is going to be 99.99% available, because that wasn't going to meet the business need. So I said to the team, what are we going to do, right? What should our goal be? How can we set a vision for the new year that's going to make sure folks are waking up and doing the right thing, driving the right behaviors every day when they show up for work? And it's a team I've worked with now, and they kind of know my style around outcome-based, lofty goals. And they said, Patty, how about if we try to ensure any outage that impacts Project Atlas is resolved within 2 hours? I'm going, I read the data, that's never going to happen. I'm trying to think, but I'm not saying it. I'm like, there's no way. I've sat on the triage calls, that is so far, and I like lofty, but that is still so far. But they said they could do it, right? So we signed up for it. So we said we were going to resolve any outages infecting Project Atlas within 2 hours. And I saw a completely different behavioral pattern. On triage calls, folks are going, we're 30 minutes in. Who does that? It was like there was a clock, right? Every week at the staff meeting, we're talking about it. We're talking about how many incidents there were, right? And you might say, well, gee, if you still have a lot of them, it's so problematic. But the team knew they had to deeply understand what was going on to be able to respond within 2 hours. They were reading the tickets. They were looking for the patterns. They were looking at the history. They were getting ready. They started thinking much more preventative to make sure it didn't happen, because they knew those were lofty goals. Within 3 months, we had accomplished it. Every month it was going better. I couldn't believe it. I actually was like, let me see the data. I wasn't even sure, right? But they did. They exceeded my expectations, which frankly are pretty high. And they did because they felt like the goal resonated with them. The goal drove a behavior in everyday activities. Gentleman in the back, I can't remember, you talked about what do you do with the offshore teams and recognition? You know what I did with it? Because the offshore team signed up for this too. I hand wrote them thank you notes on my way back from India. When I went back a year later, they were still thumbtacked up. I knew they killed themselves trying to hit this goal, right? They were excited about it. They worked super hard. And a simple thank you note made a giant difference. So that was one of the stories there where it just made a difference with respect to making sure the goals were worded in such a way it could drive behaviors, people could connect with it, and they saw value. So I just want to share with you a little bit. We've got 2023 goals and objectives starting now. We've got a talent and a workforce that has options. And we want to make sure they're at a place where they feel passionate about what they're accomplishing. They feel good. They're happy to be here. And we're accomplishing great things. It's a year with a lot of financial pressures for many of us. We have to move the ball in bigger, better ways. And we've got to make sure we hit those outcomes. So I hope this motivated you a little bit at some of the stories of my career. And go forth, set some lofty goals, focus on outcomes, and connect with purpose.
All right. Two wonderful speakers today, great content. I think my biggest takeaway from Patty's presentation was think differently. You know, how you got here isn't how you're going to get there for the most part. So that concludes today. So feel free to hang around. There's some more pastry and food and coffee back there, but I want to thank everybody for coming. We do have to escort you out, so Bob, I think will be back in a couple minutes. He'll be back in a couple minutes, so you're all stuck here for 2 minutes. Yeah, let's wait till Bob gets back. Maybe he's trying to get some, I don't know what's going on. So all kinds of alarms go off if we leave right now, so anyways. So any other takeaways from today? Anybody want to share additional takeaways? You want 2 minutes back? You want?
Don't.
Okay, yeah.
So do you come see me if you are interested in looking at a book? It really is a fun workbook as well as a way for you to apply a lot of the things that we talked about. If you have not taken Strength Finder 2.0 and you're interested in learning your strengths, let me know. I'd be happy to help you out with that too.
All right, one more round of applause for our speakers. All right, thank you very much.